ni'mah kubra, a grand blessing from Allah Azza wa Jal upon us. The mu'min appreciates this. The mu'min appreciates the signs of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the people in the Quran, وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِّرُوا بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ لَمْ يَخِرُّوا عَلَيْهَا صُمًّا وَعُمْيَانًا. The ibad of Ar-Rahman are a people that when His ayat are presented to them, they don't continue blindly and with a deafening response, deaf response to it. لَمْ يَخِرُّوا عَلَيْهَا صُمًّا وَعُمْيَانًا. And the ayat of Allah تتجلى في حياة المؤمن في كل يوم. Allah's signs present themselves. Ramadan is a sign from Allah Azza wa Jal for the mu'min, is an opportunity for the mu'min. إِذَا دَعَاكُمْ لِمَا يُحْيِيكُمْ. Brothers and sisters, Ramadan can give our souls life. Ramadan, as we said in Khutbah before, is the month of patience, is the month of change, is the month of forgiveness, is the month of repentance, is the month of ease. Its descriptions and its attributes are so many, brothers and sisters. That's why the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, it teaches us that once Ramadan enters, the believer enters a certain mode of operating, begins self-searching, self-discovery. I'm looking for something. That's why we have Laylatul Qadr in the month of Ramadan and all of the realities that relate to it. It's a month of searching. That's the whole point. I need to search for my soul. I need to search for my purpose in this dunya. I need to figure out who I am and what I am to be. That's what the month is about. That's why the Prophet ﷺ, he tells us, "Man sama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaba, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbih." Whoever observes the siyam and the fasting of Ramadan with iman and with sincerely pursuing its reward from Allah, then his sins will be forgiven. Man qama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaba. Another version. Whoever revives the qiyam of Ramadan, the prayers of Ramadan with iman and ihtisab, غُفِرَ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِهِ. Another version, مَنْ قَامَ لَيْلَةَ الْقَدْرِ إِيمَانًا وَاحْتِسَابًا غُفِرَ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِهِ. Whoever revives Laylatul Qadr with iman and pursuing its reward sincerely from Allah, then Allah will forgive his sins. The month of self-searching. Any goodness that comes in my life or any of our lives comes about when I'm searching for answers. I'm searching for truth. I'm searching for positive change. I'm searching for soul revival. I'm searching for islah. I'm trying to better myself or a relationship or figure out how to overcome a sin or an addiction or whatever you have it. This is the golden opportunity. Do I have sins? Everyone's going to say yes to that. Do I have addictions? Most people are going to say yes to that if they understand what addictions are. Addictions to desire. Addictions to shahawat. Addictions to luxuries and indulgences. Maladhat. And the material aspects of this dunya. What do I need to figure out? Ramadan is my opportunity. Will I do the self-searching that's needed in this month? Brothers and sisters, the Prophet ﷺ would teach the companions, there's a hadith that's reported, he would teach them to recognize the entrance of the month, even the whole process relating to it, with its relation to the start of the month and ru'yat al-hilal and the sighting of the moon and the Prophet ﷺ going out to witness it. And all of that is in the spirit of, I'm searching for the hilal. Allahumma ahillahu alayna bil-yumni wal-iman wa bis-salamati wal-islam. The Prophet ﷺ would say this when he would see just the moon of Ramadan. That's the ta'zeem and the reverence that Rasulullah ﷺ had for this month. Please, brothers, if you see spaces, come forward. تقدموا إلى الأمام افسحوا يفسح الله لكم. The Prophet ﷺ's invitation. He would say to the companions, أتاكم رمضان شهر مبارك فرض الله عز وجل عليكم صيامه. Ramadan has come to you. A month that is blessed, that Allah has mandated its fast for you. تفتح فيه أبواب السماء وتغلق فيه أبواب الجحيم وتغل فيه مردة الشياطين. We know this hadith, we mention it all the time. The gates to the heaven open, the gates to hellfire sealed shut. Allah changing the dynamics, and the heads of the devils chained. مردة الشياطين. And then he says, فيه ليلة خير من ألف شهر. And it's a night that's better than 1,000 months. Whoever's denied its goodness is truly denied. من حرم خيرها فقد حرم. Brothers and sisters, everyone witnesses Ramadan, but not everyone has an accepted Ramadan. The Prophet ﷺ in this hadith is telling us that there's such thing as hirman. There's such thing as denial and rejection. There's such thing as khudlan, that Allah leaves a person to his musings and to his whims and desires. That's a scary thing. Brothers and sisters, how am I entering this month? بل الإنسان على نفسه بصيرة. I'm a witness upon myself. How am I entering this month? Let me look inside deeply, critically. What am I doing? What have I done so far today? Did I do something that displeases Allah Azza wa Jal? Will I be of those, and they are many, who do their iftar even on something that displeases Allah Azza wa Jal? Right? I did the act of worship during the day, and I'll do whatever I want at night. Or will I be that person who knowingly enters the month, knowing that I'm just going to do a certain set of actions for a short period of time, knowing I'm going to go back to what I want to do, ما تشتهيه نفسي, what my nafs desires right after it's all done. Allah's invitation. That's the Prophet ﷺ's invitation. Here's Allah's invitation. In the Quran, Allah gives us an ayat of Ramadan in Surah Al-Baqarah. He gives us His invitation. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, and when my servants ask you of me, then I am near. Allah is near. Wallahi, there's nothing in my life that can't be figured out, because Allah is Al-Qadir, Al-Qadir, Al-Muqtadir. Allah Azza wa Jal constantly shows us that His Qudrah is manifest in our lives. No, His Qudrah is dominant. His will is dominant in our lives. There's nothing that can't be figured out. A family problem, a health problem, a conflict, a sin, whatever you're going to say. There's nothing, that's not in the believer's vocabulary, where my situation is hopeless, where this thing just can't be figured out or overcome. That's not how the mu'min approaches things at all. Allah is inviting, He's saying, فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. Let them answer my call. وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. Brothers and sisters, there's something that the hadith of our Prophet ﷺ tells us happens tonight when Ramadan enters. The hadith says, إِذَا كَانَتْ أول ليلة من رمضان صفدت الشياطين ومردت الجن وغلقت أبواب النار فلم يفتح منها باب وفتحت أبواب الجنة فلم يغلق منها باب. And then the hadith says, ونادى مناد يا باغي الخير أقبل ويا باغي الشر أقصر ولله عتقاء من النار في كل ليلة. The hadith says that a caller will call out tonight. A caller from the angels will call out, Ya baghi al-khair, O seeker of goodness. يا باغي الخير أقبل. Come forward. شهر الخير أقبل عليك. The month of goodness has come to you. يا باغي الخير أقبل. ويا باغي الشر أقصر. And O seeker of wickedness and harm, step back, step away. وَلِلَّهِ عُتَقَاء. Allah will emancipate from hellfire in every night some of His servants. And we said in past khutbah that emancipation from hell means that I transform my life. I start doing actions that will ultimately lead to Jannah. And I start avoiding things that will ultimately lead to hellfire. At this point, I should reflect. I should think. If we're trying to count our blessings, brothers and sisters, when it comes to Ramadan, we should think about this. Think about someone. I hardly think that there's anyone here that doesn't know someone in their close circles that passed away. Think about someone who passed away. Think about someone who left this dunya and its difficulties and its blessings behind. And think about Ramadan. How many people do you think right now in the graveyards wish that they were here to witness another Ramadan? Take a look at a few hadiths to reflect on. One hadith tells us about the blessings, the greatest blessing of life when it's with amal salih. The hadith says, خَيْرُ النَّاسِ. Who's the best of people? خَيْرُ النَّاسِ مَنْ طَالَ عُمُرُهُ وَحَسُنَ عَمَلُهُ. The best of people are those who live in this dunya for a long period of time when it's linked with amal salih, when it's linked with goodness and khair. Because our lives, brothers and sisters, could be summed up in decisions and opportunities. That's what our life is. Our lives are decisions, qararat, وفرص, and opportunities. Ramadan is a fursa, is an opportunity among opportunities, brothers and sisters. Now, طول العمر, long life in itself, is not something that carries virtue. بل ربما تكون حجة على الإنسان. It might be a proof against the person. يود أحدهم لو يعمر ألف سنة وما هو بمزحزحه من العذاب أن يعمر. That they wish to live 1,000 years, and this type of person won't be saved from hell even if they live 1,000 years. It might be a proof against the person. As our Prophet ﷺ, he tells us, قد أعذر الله إلى امرئ أخر أجله حتى بلغه 60 سنة. The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah removes the excuse from a person who lives in this dunya for 60 years. This person's not going to have any excuse for their actions on the Day of Judgment whatsoever. They had a lifetime to fix who they chose to be. Now, طول العمر and حسن العمل, and how this relates to Ramadan. Take a look at this hadith. This hadith, it's an authentic hadith in Sunan ibn Majah. It tells us about two Sahaba who accepted Islam together. They accepted Islam at the same time. The hadith says, and it's reported by Sayyidina Talha, he said, روى أن رجلين قدما على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وكان إسلامهما جميعا. They accepted Islam together. فكان أحدهما أشد اجتهادا من الآخر فغزا المجتهد منهما فاستشهد. The hadith says that one of them was more diligent and hardworking and wanted khair and goodness with more fervor. And then Allah willed that this person went out with the Prophet ﷺ in one of the battles. And then he passed away. He was istushhid, he was martyred. So then ثم مكث الآخر بعده سنة ثم توفي. Then the other one lived a year after. And then he passed away. He wasn't martyred, he passed away due to other causes. So Talha ibn Ubaidillah, he then reports, he says, فرأيت في المنام بين أنا عند باب الجنة إذا أنا بهما فخرج خارج من الجنة فأذن للذي توفي الآخر منهما ثم خرج فأذن للذي استشهد ثم رجع إليه فقال ارجع فإنك لم يؤذن لك بعد. He said, I saw a dream. I saw these two individuals. And I saw that I was by the door of Jannah, and someone came out and he admitted the one who passed away later on first. The one who passed away due to regular causes entered Jannah before the other. And then he came back out, and then he allowed the one who died earlier, the one who was martyred, to enter Jannah. And then he came back out to me and he said, go, it's not your time yet. So Sayyidina Talha, he woke up. And then he went to the Prophet ﷺ and he informed him. فأصبح طلحة يحدث به الناس فعجبوا لذلك فبلغ ذلك رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. They began asking the Prophet, how could this be? And then the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, من أي ذلك تعجبون? What are you surprised from? He said, هذا, they said, يا رسول الله هذا كان أشد الرجلين اجتهادا ثم استشهد. He said, one of them worked harder, then he was martyred. The Prophet ﷺ then said, أليس قد مكث هذا بعده سنة وأدرك رمضان فصام وصلى كذا وكذا من سجدة في السنة. قالوا بلى يا رسول الله. فقال فما بينهما أبعد مما بين السماء والأرض. The Prophet ﷺ said, the other one lived longer. And he witnessed Ramadan and he prayed more. And he sacrificed more. Of course, when they explain the hadith, they say, both of them were sincerely seeking the highest stations. Both of them, the other one who lived longer, was also just as sacrificing of the other. وَكَانَ يَطْلُبُ الشَّهَادَ بِصِدْقٍ. He was someone who sincerely sought Allah. And he tried everything he could. And they had Islam at the same time. But the superiority for the latter came because he saw Ramadan again. And he got to do more ibadah. He lived longer, so he had to deal with more bala and more trials and affliction. Brothers and sisters, this is a sign. If Allah Azza wa Jal has given me another Ramadan, what am I going to make of it? Wallahi, for the past days, even this week, we constantly announce in our communities, انتقل إلى رحمة الله فلان أو فلانة. So-and-so passed away, so-and-so passed away. Many people before witnessing Ramadan, some of them not for any reason, not for any terminal illness. I was just speaking with an imam last night who was devastated because a young man, 30 years old, passed away. He just died. His ajal came to him, 30 years old. We're not talking about realities where people knew that, that's it, they have a number of days left, they have a terminal illness, they're expecting to leave. But we're talking about a waqi' min hayatina. Wallahi, I don't know how many more opportunities I'm going to have in my life to make the most of the moments and the opportunities that I'm experiencing now. I don't know how many more I have. What am I going to do? Most people end up killing time, wasting away their days, not knowing how the days come into weeks and then come into months, not deeply thinking about how it could all come to a swift halt in the matter of a moment, and they get caught up in the details of what's happening. Fulan took, Fulan said, I missed out on this, I wanted to do that, I'm going to do this, kada, 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 all the details. Even if the devils are chained in Ramadan, brothers and sisters, human beings remain human beings. We still have our naqs bashari, our human deficiencies. What's going to happen in my home in Ramadan? Sometimes people have their iftars upon conflicts and feuds and ma'siyah and sibab and shatim and fighting and cursing. Some people, their iftar is upon that instead of making dua as a family, instead of doing dhikr as a family. What am I going to choose for myself? What are we going to choose for our homes in Ramadan? Is it going to be living the spirit of the month, or is it going to be just going through the motions and trying to get over with it as fast as we can? Some people, they're already talking about their Eid plans from now. What are we going to do for Eid? We're going to have this type of dinner, this type of barbecue. We're going to gather here or there. And we're going to all come, and Fulan is coming from a travel. And kada. Eid plans all figured out. Ramadan plans, what's that? What do you mean Ramadan plans? Is there anything called Ramadan plans to begin with? Do I have that? What's my Ramadan plan? Am I going to come to the masjid for Taraweeh? Am I going to be reviving the night in Qiyam? What am I going to be doing with the month? If I haven't asked myself this question, then I should ask myself another question. هل أنا عظمت شعائر الله? Have I showed the due reverence to the signs of Allah? Or am I allowing another opportunity to pass among many opportunities that have already passed? May Allah protect us from that. Because ليس يتحسر أهل الجنة على شيء إلا على ساعة مضت لم يذكر الله فيها. The only thing that will be a source of regret for the people in their graves, the people who will ultimately go to Jannah, well, those missed out opportunities, those wasted days, those wasted experiences. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us of those who live every moment of Ramadan with the utmost level of ihsan and excellence. May Allah make us of those who plan for their Ramadan actively before they start thinking about their Eid. May Allah make us of those who plan for the nights and days of Ramadan to revive it with things that'll really, really pay off when we're all going to when we all go to our graves. Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. ادعوا الله وأنتم موقنون بالإجابة. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد أشرف الخلق وسيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. أما بعد, brothers and sisters, Ramadan 1443, العام الهجري, is on our doorsteps. This moment will be remembered at a later point in time, some point in our existence, when we leave this dunya. Entering Ramadan 1443, just as we entered 1442 and 1441 and 40 and all the ones before it in the past years. Brothers and sisters, there is a great blessing in this gathering, a great blessing in the being able to witness this Ramadan, especially after 2 years of great difficulty. We're looking at a Ramadan that will hopefully have a full packed schedule, just like it was before the pandemic, with i'tikafs, with suhoor and iftar, with lectures, with qiyam and tahajjud and everything else. Even though it still hasn't completely cleared and there are still people afflicted and in trials. After 2 years, these 2 years have taught us a whole lot. The importance of masjid and community, the importance of togetherness, al-ijtima' ala ta'atillah. There are so many things that we could say about Ramadan, but one of the grandest things that's in this month is ijtima' al-mu'mineen ala al-khayr, is the union among believers calling upon Allah Azza wa Jal. سواد المؤمنين في المساجد في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. That's one of the reasons that Ramadan is special. Yes, it's a special time in the year. But when the masajid get full and the dua of the believers sincerely coming from the heart is plentiful. There's a beautiful hadith. إن الله حيي كريم يستحيي إذا رفع العبد يديه إليه أن يردهما صفرا خائبتين. The hadith says that Allah is generous. Allah is hayy, and He is generous. And He will not turn away the prayers of His ibad when they're sincerely extended to Him with nothing in return. That's one of the goodness. That's one of the reasons of goodness in Ramadan. Will I isolate? There's a reason why there's a virtue for jama'ah. There's a reason why Jumu'ah is special. There's a reason why Eid is special. There's a reason why the Qiyam of Ramadan, Taraweeh is special. That being with good people, around good people, for good reasons is something I need in my life, is something I'm going to try every opportunity to experience this Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, that the thing that united us is the house of Allah. Most of the people here would never know each other if it wasn't for the house of Allah, if it wasn't for the masajid, if it wasn't for ibadah and iltizam and istislam li amrillah. Brothers and sisters, I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make this month a month of goodness for the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma aj'alhu shahran tufakku fiha al-kurub, تفك فيه الكروب وتفرج فيها الكروب وتستجاب فيها الدعوات وتنال فيها الرغائب ويصلح فيها الأحوال. أسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى بهذا الشهر العظيم المبارك أن يفك الكرب عن أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم ردنا إلى دينك مردا جميلا. اللهم ردنا إلى دينك مردا جميلا. اللهم ردنا إلى دينك مردا جميلا. اللهم ول أمورنا خيارنا ولا تولي أمورنا شرارنا ولا تسلط علينا بذنوبنا من لا يخافك ولا يرحمنا. اللهم لا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا. اللهم لا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا. اللهم لا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا ولا إلى النار مصيرنا. اللهم اجعل الجنة هي دارنا وقرارنا. اللهم اعتق رقابنا من النار في هذا الشهر العظيم. اللهم اعتق رقابنا ورقاب آبائنا وأمهاتنا وإخواننا وأخواتنا وأزواجنا وذرياتنا من النار، وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار. اللهم آمين، اللهم آمين. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح، قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله. استقيموا يرحمني ويرحمكم الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين، إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون، أياما معدودات، فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر، وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين، فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له، وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان، فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه، ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر، يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. كل عام وأنتم بخير. أعاننا الله وإياكم على صيام رمضان وعلى قيامه. اللهم آمين. Brothers and sisters, we have our first Taraweeh tonight, and it's going to be immediately after Salat al-Isha at 8:45 inshallah. And we have a full program. Among it is i'tikaf on every Friday and Saturday. So tonight the masjid will be open all night for i'tikaf and for tahajjud and salah. The masjid is heavily reliant on the community's support to fund the expenses of Ramadan. So inshallah, every Jumu'ah, you're going to find we're going to be having outside organizations coming for different causes, relief and all the rest. But this is the only Jumu'ah where we're going to be soliciting your support for some of the Ramadan expenses. So inshallah, by a raise of hands, whoever would like to donate a certain amount can donate it. You could pledge it and you could pay it whenever you want. So inshallah, just very quickly before we stand for sunnah, would anyone like to raise their hands to support the Ramadan expenses of the masjid? 1,000, Jazakumullah khair, takbir. Barakallah fikum. 1,000, Barakallah fikum, taqabbalallahu minkum. Takbir. 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, MashaAllah, takbir. Allahu Akbar. Abu Musa, 1,000, taqabbalallahu minkum. Barakallah fikum. Takbir. Anyone else?